Welcome to my home and part two of our Sabbath series. This is the house we've been waiting a year for, and here we are in one of our formal living room talking about Sabbath for others. And really, I think that's probably what part of what this is all about, is thinking about those other people in your life. For me, to think about Vanessa and Lennox and the baby that's on the way and all the family that's in a very safe and quarantine kind of way entering into our lives in preparation for our second child. And here we are. What a great time to talk about how we create rhythms of rest and recreation so that it affects all the people in our lives. And homes are where we spend a lot of our time. But it's interesting when we're in our homes, how often we're not with each other, we're not resting with one another, how we're immersed in something that's technological. And that's probably the biggest theme in this part of the book. A.J. Swoboda talks about technology, almost rants about it, about how we're so immersed in our phones and our technology that we almost sacrifice the relationships around us. And that Sabbath really calls us, if we think about the first part, Sabbath for us and finding those rhythms and rest, this almost calls us to attention to break those cycles, break those rhythms, and find rest from even technology, even those things that distract us, those distractions. You know, it's easy to only think about ourselves and think about the reality of just needing a break and to take that break separate from everybody else in our lives. Really, we probably should think about how our break can affect and how we can bring others into that place of rest. If we go back to the very beginning, when God created everything, created Adam and Eve, and then he rested. Not only did he rest by himself, he rested with the creation. He rested with Adam and Eve, and we too can rest with God and with each other if we break those cycles. And when we do that, then we start to see the things that are really important in our lives. We start to see the relationships that matter. We start to look out on the world very differently, and we start to choose our decisions and make our decisions in a way that are best for God's people and the children of God that we interact with each and every day. Another big theme in this section of the book that I think is worth noting and worth exploring is the idea of your decision making as it affects people you don't even realize you're affecting. And what I mean by that is, how many of us go shopping on a day when we love being with our families? That's an activity we do together. Well, somebody has to host us, somebody has to check us out, somebody has to take care of us. Think about those folks and where do they find rhythms in their life, and how do our decisions affect them? Now, I realize that could be very controversial, because you might say back to me, well, they're making their livelihood, and they are. But as we, as people of God, thinking about what God calls us to consider, have to wonder how our decisions affect others in that way. That yes, they're making a living, but should we not think about them differently? Should we not think about the rhythms of our larger life and how we can create opportunities for all our families to be together at around the same time? I know it's almost absurd in our day and age to think that way, but that's exactly why this is called Subversive Sabbath. This is exactly why it's controversial at times in this book, because it pushes us to imagine something that we may have never experienced in our lives, and that is finding rhythms and balance that are grounded fully in God and what God asks us to consider. So I encourage us, as we study this part of the book, to wonder about those things together. Wonder about that in your group, in your small group, in your study group. Ask questions. Think about how you can create rhythms. And really, I encourage you to think about those folks that you know in your family that you affect by your decisions, and those that you probably haven't even thought about, that you don't even realize you're affecting by choosing to participate in commerce on a particular day, or go out to eat on a particular day, or go shopping on a particular day. It may open your eyes to the larger issues or struggles or concerns we have in our larger world. It's really hard, but we have to pivot. We have to pivot away from just focusing on ourselves and resting, and focusing on others and creating that balance and those rhythms. So I look forward to hearing back what you all discover and what you talk about. I hope you'll spend some time with your family and friends, rest together, throw the phones out of the window. And remember, just on that note, technology is not bad. And A.J. Swoboda is not saying that technology is bad. Technology is a great tool. In this particular time, it has brought us together in ways that would have been very difficult many years ago. And I'm thankful for that. But just like anything, as they say in the early church, anything out of moderation can become a problem. It becomes a distraction, and we have to Sabbath from it. We have to step back from that. So all AJ Swoboda is asking us to do is survey how often we use technology and how often it takes us away from particularly our family and our friends because we're so immersed in it. So I want to be clear, we're not knocking technology, but maybe in the days and weeks ahead, you'll find some time during the week as a family, play a board game, sit together and talk, have dinner together, pray together, do all those wonderful things together, and then you can all jump back on your phones and catch the latest news or whatever the next thing is that's coming through on your phone. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just finding right rhythms and right balance so that we're putting God in the forefront of our minds. We're resting in God's love and God's concern for us, and then we're sharing that love and concern with those that we meet. And that's ultimately what Sabbath for others is all about. So I'm excited to see where you land, where you end up, and I'll look forward to us exploring this section further as we continue our journey further into this book. So take a look at the study questions below. Enjoy that, enjoy your conversation, and really think about the rhythms of your life. And I will see you next time.